Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are again. Smack in the middle of nowhere. It's a good place to be, sometimes, most of the time. Talking about, and I've brought this subject up several times, and I think the most recent one was talking about trusting your local sheriff. Can you trust your local sheriff or your local police commissioner? Because those are very political positions. But law enforcement, National Guard, military, and I know people don't like to hear it because they like to think most cops are good, or I'm in the Marines and we would never do that, and so on and so forth. But as we move more and more away from the type of government that people grew up with into what we're facing now, you have to wonder how deep into it we're going, because we're far and away from having police and having law enforcement. You know, there's a big difference between police and law enforcement. Law enforcement enforces laws. Police things. It's not the same. We're getting to a point where we're even seeing more and more companies dealing with or hiring private security companies rather than police, because they don't even want to deal with them. And we've been seeing a lot of that around Georgia, where you go into a store.
Walgreens.
Yeah, Walgreens has them.
Armed guards in Walgreens.
Armed guards, full tack. The one guy, he had like a dozen magazines. Not a police officer, private security contractor.
Because it said it on his uniform.
And seeing them in the shopping malls, private security contractors, fully armed and with full body armor. They're not police. Even stores and malls don't want to deal with cops anymore. So how far can you trust them? Can you trust them at all? I know that people like to say, oh, well, you know, they're not all bad apples. That 90% of cops are good people, they're trustworthy, honest people just trying to do their job, so on and so forth. Well, you know, there's a very fine line between doing your job and then just pure obedience. And, you know, referring back to that study that was done, I forget what the name of it was in the 1970s.
The Experiment is a movie. It was
there was
I
a movie
think
about it. That's right.
Philadelphia. It was a college.
Yeah.
And it's called The Experiment. They have two versions. The original one came out in the 70s, and then they remade it in the 2000s.
Based on an actual college psychology experiment.
Yeah.
Giving one group an authority over another, and they lost control of it in a couple of days.
Yeah, they had to end it. It was supposed to be a week long, and I think they ended in either 2 or 3 days, something like that. They had to shut the whole project down.
You give some people some authority, and it goes right to their head a lot of times.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that are looking to hurt somebody, looking to get into trouble. There's a lot of guys in the military. Not everybody, but you know who I'm talking about. If you were in the military, if you're in law enforcement, there's always that handful of guys that they're in it because they were looking for an opportunity to get into a conflict. They want to see what it feels like to hurt someone, kill someone, whatever. But, you know, they make the argument again, backing up here a little bit. Okay, you know, 90% of police officers, they're good people. All right, let's examine that argument. And I've actually had this conversation with a couple of cops in the past, and they really couldn't argue it. Let's say, all right, 90%, you have 100 officers in your precinct. 90 of them are, you know, just regular fellas. They're good people. And 10% are bad. You can't tell me that every one of those 90 officers are unaware of the activities of the other 10. Stealing, lying, hurting people, whatever they're doing. Most of them know. They don't say anything. They turn a blind eye to it on purpose because they don't want to get involved. They don't think anyone is going to listen. They don't want to get ostracized by their fellow officers. Watch the movie Serpico. He was a great cop. No, he wasn't. He was a coward. Serpico was a coward. He knew there was corruption going on. He did not want to talk about it. He didn't want to get involved until his life was threatened. And then suddenly he wants to turn state's evidence, and he ended up getting shot in the face. And there's a good movie about it that follows along with it. And it continued to follow him. He had to leave the country.
Yeah.
He had to run. But he was the turn a blind eye cop, all right, in a very corrupt New York system that is still corrupt to a great degree. But that 90%, most of them at least know what those 10 are doing. Number two, You can't tell me as a police officer that you have never enforced a law that you personally felt was unethical, illogical, or immoral. I go back to, and I use it a lot, that minister in Florida that kept getting arrested over and over again. The guy's in his 80s, handing out sandwiches to homeless people. They keep arresting him because that's illegal. And the interview with the sheriff's deputies that were like, yeah, we really hate having to do this, you know, because he's old and he's just trying to help people. You're still doing it.
Yeah.
You're still enforcing that law even though you personally have an ethical problem with it. You are not taking a stand. You're just sitting there saying, well, it's doing my job. Can't help it. I can't help it. Yes, you could, but you don't want to.
And we had talked about that in another video because the same thing was happening here in Georgia when I was volunteering with the homeless. And they put it out. Hey, churches, you can't go out. And we went out. And the police came, but they didn't stop us. They just drove. They looked. They drove by really slow. They looked at us, and they kept on going. So, I mean, they knew, hey, all they doing is feeding homeless people.
Okay.
And they left it. So some people, I'll say, yeah, okay. Others, no. And we're not saying defund the police. We're not on that bandwagon.
Because good luck if you do.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, no one is going to take their place.
No.
That's the problem.
Because I'm all about calling the police when they need it, but I'll tell you now, I don't trust them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit down and have a conversation because they will twist your words and make it what they want it to be.
Which leads into my third argument on that. You can't tell me as a police officer, because I used to work for the Juvenile Justice Authority and they trained us to do this, that you don't twist people around, that you don't lie to them and mislead them, fishing for information or trying to convince them to say something that they're not prepared to say. All police are trained to do this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was only juvenile justice. We were trained to do it. The probation officers were trained to do it. The classes I took, a 40-hour class I had to take in doing that. There were probation officers there, social workers, there were prison guards there, all from all types of law enforcement were there. Learning how to twist people up and trip them up in their own words and make them say something that they didn't mean to say so that you can claim that they said something or led into something.
Yeah.
Basically stacking them, which I didn't agree with that practice, but I still was required to take that class. I couldn't get out of it. It was the least of the classes I could get away with taking and not doing the other ones. So they do that. You can't tell me as a law enforcement officer you never tried to trip anybody up and was deceptive with them. And you can make the argument that, okay, most of the people I'm talking to aren't being honest with me. Probably true. Doesn't mean you have to do it too.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing that I hate, because I watch a lot of detective shows. I do.
True life detective shows, not dramatizations.
I love them.
Yeah.
But boy, you will see some of these police officers and detectives. Sorry, they're detectives, and they're in the interrogation, and they know they don't have evidence, and they plan it, or they feed the people information, and they get them to sign statements, and they go through trial. The person is arrested and put in prison, and years later somebody else will come forward with new evidence, like cut and dry evidence, or somebody else will confess. Nope, we got the right guy. We got our man. This guy
They'll
did it.
never apologize.
They won't apologize.
No,
they won't admit that they were wrong.
Just doing my job.
Yeah, we just and once they get their teeth into somebody, they won't look no more. They're not gonna look any further. They're not gonna do anything extra to make sure they have the right person. And that's the thing that gets me. And it's like, you know, some people actually try to be good. And we talked about you're not born good. You have to strive to be good.
You have to want to be good.
You have
That's
to learn
true.
how to be good. You have to want to be good. And you have to strive to be good. And if you're a person, you say, I'm going to be a good person, upstanding, righteous, whatever you want to call it. And you know, often be a police officer and you're trained to lie, you're trained to trip people up and manipulate them and plant evidence or whatever, plant seeds in people's head. How you do that? You know, how do you be good and righteous? How you sleep good
And
at
then you
night?
justify it by saying, I'm just doing my job, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And we've heard that before.
Or I know they did something one time.
Yeah, that's a more of a jury argument.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah,
I have huge issues
I
with the
have
whole
that too.
justice system because the justice system, the judge's job and a jury's job is to logically look at the law and the facts, make a decision based on that, and then decide if the punishment ethically fits. That's not how it works at
No.
all. And most of the time, and I've been on jury duty a few times, and I hated it. It's a nightmare. People do not care. They just care about getting the hell out of there. And they often have the attitude of, well, he may not have done this, but he's guilty of something. He's not here for something. He's here for this. And you are refusing to recognize it because you don't like the way this guy looks.
Yeah.
You know, or because of something emotional that the attorney said to trip you up and get your feelings all mixed up in it. And it's not right. And as we move more towards what feels like a totalitarian government here, you're going to be seeing a lot more of it because there's plenty of people that will bury you and follow orders so that they can get their little slice of the pie. You know, if as long as it's not affecting their paycheck and their family, or hell, even if it is, because they sure will rat on their own family. People will do that. People are dirty. They're dirty and they're evil. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, and especially with anyone who's in authority.
The squirrels.
Yeah, that's just the squirrels fighting over here. He's leaping so much it sounded like almost like footsteps for a second. But if you give people authority, there are many who will abuse it, and even the ones who won't are going to be afraid to speak up. That's human nature, unfortunately. There's not enough people with the morals and ethics and the fiber in their being, the spiritual grounding to resist that. There's just not enough anymore, especially in the selfish throwaway society that we're living in now. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I said all I wanted to say. You know, again, I'm not for defunding the police. I am not.
But again, you know, people, because that's always the police's argument is, oh, well, yeah, but who are you going to call when you get in trouble? We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
There isn't like Fred's police department that we can call because we don't trust our local sheriff's office or our local police department. There's no alternative that you can contact.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you can be held liable because, oh, well, you knew about something and didn't say anything. We're going to charge you too. It happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not about defunding the police, but you know, and I don't hope to see anybody get hurt. I don't hope to see police officers or detectives, however you want to say it, shot and killed.
No.
In a line of duty because somebody hate them. I don't want to see.
Because it sure doesn't help. They already they already are instilled with an us versus them attitude as it is.
Yeah, and I don't want to see them. I don't like seeing them put in a situation where they have to draw and fire on somebody. I don't like none of that, and I know those things happen. I'm not for that. I don't support that. I just don't trust them. Period. I'll call them if my house is broken into, I'm attacked, I get in a car accident. Whenever I need to call them, I will call them. But I don't want to talk to you and give you information. I don't want to be interrogated. You know, I don't trust to just sit down, even offline, and just talk to you and have a casual conversation, because you'll try to twist it. And I don't
you never know when they're
you.
fishing, and that really goes for any government official, code compliance, anybody.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be very careful out there, guys. So, you know, anyone, if you have thoughts about it, feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got anything out of that, and you know, make your points, get the conversation going. Share it if you share the video if you can. Probably the only way it'll get seen. ScrewTube hates this channel. Subscribe if you're new, all that stuff. If you wanted to help the channel out, there are links for that down below. And what more can I say but stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.
And let's go, Brandon.
Oh my.